faith, service. They still exist here. Bill Martinez, live.
They exist because they're timeless. And, well, I'll tell you, it is what matters most. And I appreciate you joining a good fight with us. This is Bill Martinez. We're coming at you live 14 minutes before the top of the hour. We have GOP strategist out of Florida, Ed Pozzuoli, is with us. Always good to have him here. He's the president of the Florida-based law firm, Tripp Scott, who's co-chair of the Jeb Bush for governor out of Broward County campaign. Also served as an integral member of the Bush-Cheney legal team in the 2000 presidential recount litigation. Ed, always good to have you with us. How you doing, sir?
Always good to be with you.
Well, Ed, repeal and replace went down in flames. Nancy Pelosi called it a rookie mistake. I've made it real clear with our audience. I was rather aghast. I thought her arrogance, her and the rest of the Democrats that stood around her, kind of gleeful over the fact that they have given us this messed up healthcare program, have done little in terms of helping to come to a solution, and sit there on the sidelines just jeering and throwing eggs and rotten fruit at the GOP, trying to get this right on behalf of the American people.
It's who she is, and so and it's her point of view, which pervades that whole left side of the Democratic Party, which is why they continue to lose elections and will continue to do so in the future. On the other hand, I'll share with you, Bill, I was disappointed. This is not over, this health care. This is a bit of a process, and I want your listeners to heed this, in that this debate is not over. We need to fix, replace, repeal, whatever you want to call it, Obamacare, because it is a failure. High costs of premiums, lack of coverage, violating the sanctity of your relationship with your doctor, using government power to mandate behavior of American citizens. All of those things are abhorrent with this bill, and it needs to be fixed and fully replaced. I mean, I'd be in favor of, hey, let's just repeal the thing a year or two out, and then in the meantime, let's put in pieces that will address what I believe is something that we've got to deal with, because it's 17 to 20% of our economy.
Exactly.
And so in healthcare. So, but let's be blunt about something. Republicans failed on their first attempt, and so it doesn't mean they don't get a second chance at this thing. The bill did little. This is not a bill that you and I might have written if we were starting with a blank piece of paper, but it was a bill that I would say at least was a good start. And for someone like me, who does not believe the government should be mandating everything, because it creates such an artificial set of pricing. You want to know why prices are rising in healthcare? It's because the government's involved, and you and I as consumers have either no say or motivation to keep the costs of what we spend on healthcare down.
Right. Well, to your point, there are several examples glaringly across this country where the government is out of it, and doctors are providing world-class health care for their patients, in some cases as little as $50 a month, including everything, their tests, and everything except for a catastrophic situation. Another doctor, a friend, Dr. Alita Eck, and her husband up in upper state New York, $15 a visit. And for them, they were able to get around, the malpractice insurance and get an exemption on that. And they're able to deliver at the other doctor I was telling you about. Has got 500 locales that he's providing this service for $50 a month. And their prescription benefit, I mean, just to give you an idea, 10 cents on the dollar versus the national effort. To your point, this fortifies and supports your argument that when you get government involved, government is what gives us that great opportunity to spend $10,000 on a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil, 30 days out before the budget is over, right?
Well, I mean, look, when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, Bill, you're hurting, your elbow's hurting, why don't we send you for an MRI? And you say, of course, I'll go. And you go because someone else is paying for it, whether it's the government or your insurance carrier. And so there is no skin in the game for you. So you go and you get the test done, and you're not making a consumer-based, educated consumer-based decision. And you're going and that on top of the motivation of the doctor to practice what would be termed defensive medicine, protect him or herself from litigation. And so those are two things that impact our costs. And so there's a basic understanding about this is that, look, Democrats want to cry and scream and yell about the poor person or the handful, they say a large number, millions of people now who have insurance. Yeah, the question is that I have is I have a 22-year-old son who would like not to have insurance. He's still on my policy, but he at some point doesn't need it. I mean, what he's saying to me is, look, I don't want to spend the money on that, and I'm healthy, at least for now, and I'll take a catastrophic plan that if something really bad happens with a large deductible, then fine. But why should someone have to pay for every time I want to go to the doctor and just for a cough? And so we need to get smarter about this. There is no reason, as an example, like my son is single, why he should have to take on a policy that includes maternity, benefits. Right. I mean, it's just, someone in Washington decided that this was the way to. This is about control. This is not about providing good health care. It's about federal control, and it should send shivers down your spine and mine about how the government in Washington is deciding what is best for you and me, and I would just as soon make my own decisions. Thank you.
Without a doubt, and I think people are starting to get it, but the other thing that they're not seeing, Ed, with this whole Obamacare to begin with, listen to what Jonathan Gruber laid out. This thing was designed to fail. It was designed from the outgo to fail. Get people hooked into the concept of national health care and then come through the back door and say, voila, we got the answer. And to your point, you talk about control, single payer. Now, at that point, it is so messed up. The only way this is going to be saved is this needs to be presented as a right, not a privilege. And if it becomes a right, then we better pay for it. And now we're back in front of Chief Justice Roberts, and with Roberts saying, well, really, you mean this to be a tax, don't you?
Well, it is a tax, and I'll suggest that your audience needs to know that, as an example, since Obamacare has been in place, about 2/3 of small businesses that were providing insurance to their employees are no longer providing insurance to their employees because they're pushing their employees to comply with the individual mandate outside of the business. And so, it does the exact opposite effect, and I agree with you that there is a grand scheme to get people, to take away something that people believe is an entitlement is a difficult thing. And so Republicans have to be careful politically, which is why we should pull a tactic of Obama. That